This is Lesson 1, Level 1 for Honeysuckle Rose and Scrapple from the Apple. In my introductory lesson, I talked about the form of the piece being A, B, A. And I talked about the harmony. And I'm just going to go over that at a slightly slower pace and in a little bit more detail. So the A section, which I said is all in F major concert, starts with a chord of G minor. G is chord 2 if you're an F. So literally you go F, G and you get to chord 2. The next chord is chord 5, which is C7. And we rock between these two chords. Now the difference between Honeysuckle Rose and Scrapple from the Apple in terms of harmony is that the rate of change is slower in Scrapple from the Apple. So in Honeysuckle Rose you have chord 2, chord 5, chord 2, so half a bar of each one, and that fits the... You might have seen my version of Honeysuckle Rose in my performance where I play it in a stride style, so that's half a bar of G minor, half a bar of C7. In Scrapple from the Apple it's a whole bar of chord 2 and a whole bar of chord 5. Etc. Now obviously there are differences between the two tunes. In Scrapple from the Apple there's a much more complicated melody with some more chromaticism. Honeysuckle Rose, it's a sung song written by Fats Waller, completely different, but they do use mostly the same harmony. At the end of the A section, in the last 4 bars, in the more straightforward version, we come to rest on F major, which is our home key, and then we go to chord 6, and then 2, 5. So that's F major, D minor, G minor, C7. And then we come to rest on F, chord 1, and then just providing a bit of movement going to chord 2, chord 3, which is A minor, chord 6. Now I'm doing something on chord 6. I've made it into a dominant 7th. So before, chord 6 is D minor 7. That's the right chord if you're taking it in the key of F, the diatonic chord. But we want to make it a little bit different to lead to the G minor chord. So I'm going to raise the 3rd, that's the F to the F sharp, and that gives us that dominant 7th sound, which then nicely moves to G minor. So why does that work? Well, if you check out my jazz snippets, that will show you why dominant tonic is a very strong connection. But basically, if you think you're in the key of G minor, D is the dominant, so it leads to that. Now we know that it's not in the key of G minor because I've just said it's in the key of F major, but for that minute second your ear is thinking, ooh, that's leading us to G minor, and that's because it's a 5th away. There we go. So alternatives at the end, instead of going in the bar 5, instead of going to D minor, 6, G, C. Again, you could put that as a dominant 7th on the D, so F, D7, and it just interesting. In the middle 8, there are a string of dominant 7ths, and the first chord is F7, which is our home key, but we've made it into a dominant 7th. So that is, we've flattened the 7th, which is an E. So instead of having this sound, it's now this sound. And then I move down a 5th to B flat 7, which is, if we're still relating it to F, is chord 4. And then we move down a minor 3rd to G7. Now by this time I'm not sure if it's always relevant to describe it in relation to the home key, but if you did want to describe it in relation to the home key, it's chord 2, but it's been made major. I think it's more just a sequence to lead nicely to C7, which is 5 notes lower. And C7 is the dominant 7th of our home key. Now we end on C7, but we don't resolve to F, because before we can get to F, we're rocking again between G minor and C7, and that's the A section. So in that middle 8, we literally just have 4 chords. I wouldn't play it like this, but it shows you 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And then we've got our final A section. So hopefully that'll made the form of the piece and the harmony a little bit more clear, so that it'll enable you to improvise a bit with a bit more ease. I will discuss various scales and harmonic ideas to improvise in the next lesson.